Hi guys, what's up? My name is Emma Rose and I do a lot of stuff. This is just a little quick video of something I made recently. You'll see it. I have been wanting to get into bookbinding. It's just such a mashup of my interests, right? Previously on this channel, I have painted a book. I want to get into recovering books, changing the whole binding, basically. So this was a little test and something a little bit easier on a little blank journal, basically. And the shenanigans is happening back there. I also tried out some embroidery on the cover, just testing lots of skills here, basically. So I hope you enjoy. Come hang out with me. I'll keep chatting in the voiceover, and then I'll be back at the end to let you know what I think.
Okay, crafty pals, this was definitely a situation of playing around and figuring it out. The main supplies I used were a blank notebook with a plain cover that I got at Daiso, and Heat and Bond. Heat and Bond is like a double-sided iron-on adhesive, basically, and I'm going to use it to attach to the back of the fabric, and then that will be sticky. This here is the embroidery stabilizer. I just thought it would be cool to show you ripping it off. It tears away, leaving the little embroidery sturdy on there. Here I'm just figuring out the placement I want with the star in the middle of the front cover. And then I'm going to use a friction pen. I think that's what they're called. They're the ones that will like go away with heat or washing. I don't think these marks are going to be visible anyway, but just to be safe, this is what I use for fabric. And I'm marking out some extra edges that will wrap around the sides of the cover, doing the same thing for the back. And I was actually pleasantly surprised by this portion of the scrap fabric. It had a lot of really good variety. It seemed really suited for this. And I actually still have a bunch left, so I'm going to maybe make some red bookmarks that could kind of like go in the journal or coordinate with it. I don't know. And throughout this footage, I'm remarkably unable to get the shots of me actually cutting anything like centered underneath the camera, so expect more of this. So I wanted to start with a book cover on something easy. That's why I grabbed this pre-made journal. I didn't do any of the classic bookbinding things like putting different pages together and stitching the little... Listen, I've watched a lot of videos of bookbinding, but I'm far from knowing all the ins and outs yet. I will get there. So Heat and Bond has two sides when you take it out of the package. Basically, one's like a papery, parchment paper type thing, and the other will be the sticky adhesive that activates with ironing. It can be a little fussy, honestly. Looking back, I probably should have flipped this over so my iron wasn't anywhere near the adhesive because you don't want it to melt onto the iron. But looks like I managed okay, and then I cut away the excess. We'll save that for a different project, and so now it's just on the back of the fabric. So now the whole cover is kind of like a big sticker, and you peel away the paper backing, voila, revealing that shiny sheet of adhesive there. It's not going to be super sticky to touch, but then it activates when you iron it. And here I'm using the peeled off backing as kind of a buffer so that I don't get any stickies on my iron, which is the smart way of doing things. I figured that out eventually. It was kind of hard to get these little bits to stick. I'm holding them down kind of while they cool to let the glue have time to set up against the paper of the journal. Ultimately, I added a couple of little pieces of masking tape here. This was going to be temporary just to hold it in place while the bond developed, but I ended up just covering up the pieces of tape with this nice paper I use on the covers. You'll see that in a minute. More ironing, more pressing, just getting everything smoothed into place Is anyone else like stressed about all the ironing when they're sewing? I don't love this part. I don't love standing over the board. I get really warm. The iron is like steaming. I worry about burning things. Yeah, don't love it, but at the same time, it's so essential to make everything look nice. So here is my fancy paper that I'm going to put inside the covers. I'm tracing out the correct size or the correct-ish size. I don't know. I ended up needing to cut it down a lot. But it's this lovely swirly design that I got from Blick. It's kind of embossed and textured. It just really caught my eye and it seemed like the perfect touch for this. I'm using regular PVA glue, Elmer's glue, school glue, whatever you want to call it. Spread that out with a brush over the edges of the fabric, including those little bits of masking tape I mentioned that we want to cover up. And then I just spend some time getting all the air bubbles out. This is kind of like putting on a little screen protector or whatever. I feel like it takes a second to make sure everything is as flat as it can be, as smooth and as nice. And eventually, once I get everything done on here, I'm going to put this whole book like between some heavy stuff for a bit so that it can get nice and like, I don't know, creased, I guess, firmly compacted in there. So I repeated the same steps for the front cover. Everything's the same here. I just decided to do the back cover first in case I messed up, but I'm really happy with how both of them look. I think one thing I would change is if I did this again is that I would make like a whole page so that it would be glued to the cover, but then there would be like a folded front page that was red too. You know how books have some of those? I think that would be a more polished touch for this, but I'm so happy with the whole thing, how it turned out. It was a really fast craft, honestly, and this is going to be a cute addition to my crafting studio. Really excited to play around with this as an art journal and record lots of crafty memories in here. I think it's really custom and shows a lot of my personality, and it's fun that it is in itself a craft that I am trying out for the first time, so it's definitely going to get a page of its own in here. I'm really pleased that I finally got around to this and that it turned out so good. I couldn't be happier.
I'm so pleased. That was actually really easy. I've thought about doing this for ages too. It's so funny. So there she is. This is going to be my little craft journal, like I said. I'm going to put a title page in it, I think, and then just lots of pictures of progress on different projects and, I don't know, like reflections about how I feel about them. I'm excited to get started on that. I feel like I already have some photos printed out. The fabric is a bit of a cat fur magnet. And lint and dust and all that, which I did not expect that. But that's okay. I think it looks really good for what it is. When I make this scrappy fabric, it gets rather wrinkly sometimes. I'm still working on a process to improve that. So like, it's not the smoothest cover ever. Actually looks really fine on camera. You can't see the little puckers very much whatsoever. I've also improved this little design. Like, I stitched this out a really long time ago. I've changed some things about it because I've learned a little bit about how to make your edges look really nice and precise on here. Hey, boy. Yeah, yeah. But I think he's really cute and just kind of smug and up to some crafty nonsense. That's the vibe I was going for, at least. Yeah. So I'm going to keep doing this. Let me know if you want to see me do like art journal videos with this. I've definitely thought about it, and I've gone and done some sort of similar videos in the past. that have gone okay. I find it really hard to sit and film like top down while I work on that kind of stuff, but I'm working it out. I have a tripod. It's all work in progress. If you like this video, give it a like. If you want to stick around, you can subscribe. It makes me so happy when people do. See you next time. Make something that makes you happy today. And bye-bye.